If you wait until you see the signals of kind of slowing growth, customers who don't love us, competition that's kicking us in the rear, now you're under pressure. Do it from a position of strength and growth. That's the time to build the capability of like building the next businesses, innovating better, delighting customers better. That's the championship way.
Top leaders, meaningful conversation, actionable advice, bulldoze complacency, ignite inspiration, create impact. Produced by Southwestern Family of Companies. This is the Action Catalyst.
Hello, Action Catalyst listeners. This is your host, Adam Outland, and I have a message to bring you today from John Rossman, our two-time guest on the Action Catalyst. If you're tired of business being just average, if you feel like mediocrity is creeping in, slowing down, and stifling your growth, it's time to break free from the trap of complacency and start playing to win. That's why you need to hear about the Playbook of Champions developed by John Rossman. John is an early Amazon executive who played a key role in launching and scaling the Amazon marketplace. John has since advised companies like T-Mobile, Microsoft, and Walmart, and hundreds of small and medium-sized businesses. He's also the author of books like The Amazon Way, Think Like Amazon, and Big Bet Leadership. Now he's ready to help you reclaim your competitive advantage and build a high-performance culture. John can guide you and your team through his framework, which includes 3 core pillars: building a strong foundation based on purpose, principles, and people, chasing perfection by embracing a culture of continuous improvement, and taking bold, big bets that will drive your company's innovation and AI transformation. Your business shouldn't settle for good enough. Download John's free business manifesto at rossmanpartners.com today to learn more and get started. Stop simply reacting to the market and start leading it. That's rossmanpartners.com. It's time to unleash your inner champion.
We are pleased to welcome back to the program John Rossman, an author, executive advisor, and keynote speaker on digital transformation, leadership, and business reinvention. He was an early executive at Amazon and now serves as the managing partner and founder of Rossman Partners. And he was previously our guest on episode 433 of the Action Catalyst. John, welcome back.
Great to be back.
A lot of your public work in the past has touched on your time at Amazon, the Amazon Way, Think Like Amazon. That was sort of the focus the last time we caught up. You've got a few new works out now, but I want to start with the Rossman Business Manifesto, the Pig, the Lipstick, and the Playbook of Champions. This really sounds like you're taking the more holistic ownership of all of your experience, bringing it together. Who's the target audience for this manifesto? What's the specific problem it's addressing? And how did you come to identify that problem?
So I get to do a lot of keynote speaking, and I have some clients. And one of the interesting things I've seen over the past year is most of my work has been about kind of major transformation, innovation. But I've had a half dozen keynotes where it's like, no. We want to focus on our culture and execution and kind of like some of the basics. And so that was like one clear signal. And the other signal is last year, we saw a number of just gold standard brands, ironically, a lot of them out of the Pacific Northwest here, a number of gold standard brands who went from being lauded and the pinnacle within their category to like a substantial business challenge that they have, right? So the brands I'm thinking about, think about this set of gold standard brands: Starbucks, Boeing, Nike, and Intel, right? Very different sectors, all of them a different sort of situation, but they clearly have suffered from a combination of what I think are kind of 2 factors. One is they get kind of trapped within their own business model and they're just incrementalizing themselves to the next thing. So that's kind of the innovator's dilemma. And the other is a cultural thing of like what their expectations are in the business between themselves. And that's kind of a culture of mediocrity that hasn't become just accepted. It's actually become the standard within a number of kind of healthy companies. And I think that that combination is really the challenge that I address in the Pig, the Lipstick, in the Playbook of Champions, of being both trapped from our own success and not seeking high performance, both for our business and for the way that we work. And so that's the specific problem. But I wanted to get it out. It's a free resource ebook. It is a playbook. We outline specific things to do that I think are both practical, but they're underplayed, they're understated within most organizations. But a couple that I think are super powerful and simple. So there's 3 sections of the book: building the foundation, chasing perfection, taking big bets. Under building the foundation, one of the key plays is about people. And I think everybody starts with the wrong place when they think about getting the right people in the organization, helping them be successful, because everybody thinks it's about like the person. And I disagree. I think it's about a thoughtful design of the organization and what the job is that needs to be needed. And so many companies haven't really thought through, for this role, for this team, for this core capability of our company, what's the job that's needed now and going forward? How would we define it? What do we think kind of the consistent goals are going to be? What's the decision-making criteria and scope of this? What are the key metrics that we imagine this role having? And what do we think the non-obvious skills and background and attributes that would help somebody be successful? Even if you have somebody in the role today and you want to help take their performance from good to world-class, rethinking what the job is a super powerful way to help that person achieve those goals. But it goes so underplayed in companies. And this is not a big exercise to do, and everything, but companies don't do it. So that's an example. Here's another one, and it's kind of from the Chasing Perfection section of the book, which is all about like, how do we run a great business today, and how companies design and use metrics to actually get the signal of where aren't we good enough from a customer experience or from an operational standpoint today. I was a partner at Arthur Andersen. I was a green belt. I'm an industrial engineer by education. I thought I knew how to use metrics for impact. And I learned a whole graduate level course at Amazon. And it's been kind of one of the consistent things I work with clients in my keynotes on since then is like metrics and how we use them. And there's 2 parts that I'll talk about here today. One is like just how you design metrics. And it always has to be a balanced scorecard of metrics, right? You can't have just like one metric. You need efficiency, you need quality, you need cost metrics, right? And it's the design relative to those. But then the second part is like, what do you do with those metrics, right? And so I always talk about make metrics a verb, right? They're not a thing, they're not static, they're a verb. And the action that we take is, how do we discover the signal, not to pat ourselves on the back, but to see where there's opportunity to chase perfection? And that was, I think, the design of kind of the metrics meetings and the tone and the tempo and the purpose of those meetings is an absolute game changer for teams and companies that can turn metrics into the fuel that improve the business for today, but it's like going to the gym. If you do this all the time, you're going to get the idea that fuels the next section of the playbook, which is big bets. Like, how do you actually innovate and transform?
You've mentioned part 3 as big bets, and you've already alluded to your other work, which is Big Bet Leadership, your transformation playbook for winning in the hyper-digital era. But we've all heard about the digital era. We've been in it for a while now. But before we got deeper, just give us the definition of what the hyper-digital era is exactly. What's that distinction?
We know we're not good at making change happen, right? Like if you look at the history of time, like the competitive advantage and life of companies tends to be pretty short. And if you think the past 25, 30 years of digital transformation and digital disruption has been something, the next 25 is going to make that pale in comparison, right? Like we are heading to an era, and it's not just because of technology. I outline kind of 3 mega forces with kind of a fuse tying them together. And the 3 mega forces are A, disruptive technology, which is by itself a highly disruptive factor. But the second one is just as disruptive, which is the aging of our population. The ability to attract, retain, and get better leverage out of our skills and out of our people is going to be a core competitive advantage. Because if you are just going to try to continually hire and compete, you're going to be at a competitive disadvantage. So that's the second major force, megatrend is, the aging of our population and how scarce skilled talent is going to be. And the third is the overall indebtedness of our country to entitlement programs and to servicing our debt. And that's going to create downward pressure for capital. So you're going to have to be both efficient for your capital, but it's also a calling, which is for our country to win, we have to innovate. And that innovation comes from all of our companies. It doesn't come from somebody else's place. It comes from our place. And so those three mega forces together are going to create a vortex that creates both an opportunity and a challenge. And there's going to be a bunch of new winners. There's going to be a bunch of new losers in what I call the hyper digital era. And you can't wait until you go, oh, now I get it. Now I really need to change. You need, back to kind of the athletic metaphor, you need to get good at how you go about innovating and transforming. It is an organizational capability. And so the best attribute you can always have is some patience, right? Time to do these things. And so if you wait until you see the signals of kind of slowing growth, customers who don't love us, competition that's kicking us in the rear, now you're under pressure. Do it from a position of strength and growth. That's the time to build the capability of building the next businesses, innovating better, delighting customers better. That's the championship way.
To point number 3 about debts and entitlements, we're now at the beginning of a new government administration looking to make a lot of changes to business and regulations and other things. Do you see a big impact there?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I think that these changes were going to take place regardless of administrations. And I would say I'm hopeful and supportive of any administration that would seek to both serve our citizens better and do it more effectively. And I think that is what every company needs to do, and all of our federal, state, local governments should serve to do. Do it better, do it more efficiently. The government is here for the people, not the other way around. It's we the people, right? We the people grant the government these powers. It's not the other way around, right? That's why it's an important call to action to me. If our plan is to wait for the government to address and fix the situation, I'm not optimistic about that. That's why I think especially small, mid-sized, large companies, they need to see it as part of the mission of our company needs to play a role in how America is more competitive and more innovative, because that's how we keep our great democracy going. And so don't wait for the government to fix it. That's never a great idea. I think that, I'm optimistic that they're going to start tackling some of this, but that's not the whole playbook. The playbook is our businesses need to play a role in this. One of the phrases I'm fond of is that complaining is not a strategy, right? And so what do we do with these observations today in our business, in our team, in my life? That's what I'm always interested in, is action.
Well, that's perfect for our podcast, right?
Exactly. The Action Catalyst.
You make a pretty bold claim. You say that there are countless books making the case for digital transformation, innovation, and reinvention, but they're not sufficient. But what are they lacking that Big Bet brings to the table?
Wow, you really did read it. I love it. I love it. So here's what's insufficient. What's easy to do is to talk to senior leaders, and it's I know I need to transform. I know I need to innovate. I know I need to leverage technology. I know I need to delight my customers better. I know I need to evolve my operating model. I know I need to understand kind of this trial and error experimentation mindset. But there's very little that actually, for senior leadership and the teams that serve senior leaders, there's very little that actually says, here's things that you, the senior leadership team, need to do different, and the team that's driving this transformation. And so there's a lot written for kind of the individual contributor and the team leader around agile methodologies, experimentation. But we couldn't find anything. Kevin McCaffrey, I'm referring to, and myself, we couldn't find anything that's like, here's what senior leaders need to do. Kevin ran new business incubation for T-Mobile. I got to be the senior innovation advisor working with them for 3 years. This is what we had to do at T-Mobile. Was our challenge wasn't like this tactical process of like, how do we explore, new business models for T-Mobile? It was helping the senior leadership understand how they needed to adjust or recalibrate how they make decisions, how they allocate resources, how they spend time on these businesses and opportunities of the future versus their operating expertise in running today's business. And the biggest mistake that senior leaders make is they think that because they're really good operators and they understand, they've heard these concepts of innovation and experimentation, and so it like, okay, I can do that. It starts from a belief system and an understanding fundamentally of what that is about and how to go about it. And if you apply the same tactics, the same belief systems, the same things that made you a great operator into this playbook of experimentation and major transformation, you will fail at it. And that's why we wrote the book, Big Bet Leadership, is for senior leaders and the teams that serve senior leaders to really point out to them, these are things that you need to do different. Again, it's a very action-oriented book, not theoretical. And that's what is missing in most books about innovation and transformation is it's like, yeah, no, duh, I need to change and I need to be competitive, but tell me what I need to do differently today as a senior leader to help make that happen. That's what we tried to answer in this book.
And as a companion to that book, you've got a lot of tools available on your website for taking this Big Bet theme further. But one of the most intriguing to us was Big Bet GPT. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So, we kept the book very readable, right? It's 45,000 words. It's a great narrative. It's a great audio book. And so we offloaded from it a lot of the templates and tools and checklists and things to do. And so one of the things we did with all of that was we created a purpose-built GPT, and we have a prompt sheet that goes with it that can help you do these exercises of kind of developing the what sucks memo, of really thinking through your 3 futures exercise, of putting these practices into place. It won't think for you. It won't do the work for you, but it is an incredible companion to help you see different framing, different phrasing, different options that you have out there. And so it really is a kind of a turbo button to help you speed your way through thinking this playbook through for yourself. I think there's more for us to do there too.
Well, I'm glad you said that. So what's next and where can people find you?
Yeah, so people can find me on LinkedIn, John Rossman. That's really simple. Or bigbetleadership.com is where all the resources and everything is. And that's also at rossmanpartners.com. What's next? Like, that's what I'm thinking about right now. And I think it's something that is a combination of, for senior leaders and team leaders, how do I actually address these 2 core challenges that we identify in this business manifesto, which is A, kind of being trapped by our success. That's the innovator's dilemma. And B, kind of suffering from accepting mediocrity, but leveraging AI to help you do that better. And how do I incorporate AI into everything that I do within an organization? That's what being an AI first company is about. And I think it's both kind of small tactics that you take, but it's also about re-envisioning and leveraging AI. And so I think it's a combination of kind of business strategy, leadership, but leveraging these very real and dynamic, fast-changing capabilities that generative AI and other technologies bring to us, because it's like a new internet. It's like, oh, now we have electricity. Like, it truly is a fundamental capability shift. And again, like, don't wait until it's too late. You got to get comfortable both individually and as a company in how you leverage these things to make change happen.
John, thanks for being here once more.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And thanks for listening.
Hello, Action Catalyst listeners. This is your host, Adam Outland, and I have a message to bring you today from John Rossman, our two-time guest on the Action Catalyst. If you're tired of business being just average, if you feel like mediocrity is creeping in, slowing down, and stifling your growth, it's time to break free from the trap of complacency and start playing to win. That's why you need to hear about the Playbook of Champions developed by John Rossman. John is an early Amazon executive who played a key role in launching and scaling the Amazon marketplace. John has since advised companies like T-Mobile, Microsoft, and Walmart, and hundreds of small and medium-sized businesses. He's also the author of books like The Amazon Way, Think Like Amazon, and Big Bet Leadership. Now he's ready to help you reclaim your competitive advantage and build a high-performance culture. John can guide you and your team through his framework, which includes 3 core pillars: building a strong foundation based on purpose, principles, and people, chasing perfection by embracing a culture of continuous improvement, and taking bold, big bets that will drive your company's innovation and AI transformation. Your business shouldn't settle for good enough. Download John's free business manifesto at rossmanpartners.com today to learn more and get started. Stop simply reacting to the market and start leading it. That's rossmanpartners.com. It's time to unleash your inner champion.